ladies, it's Angie. Just wanted to share a thought with you today. And my scripture setting is 1 Samuel 16. This is where David is chosen and anointed to be king. My focus verse today is verse 7. But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. So just a little history for this first book of Samuel. So when we start out, we look at Samuel chapter 8, 1 Samuel chapter 8. Israel is demanding a king. We go over a chapter and we see in 9, it talks about the appearance and the features of Saul. And Saul is described as a handsome, goodly, a choice young man, and taller in stature than his people. We go over a few more chapters in chapter 11, and Saul is anointed king. So somewhere between chapters 11 and 16, we see that Saul lost his relationship with the Lord, and things change. So we're at chapter 16 now, and this is where Samuel is going to Jesse's. He's going to sacrifice, but during that time, a new king will be chosen and anointed. So we see that Samuel goes, and Jesse is aware of what's going to happen. And I'm sure that he tells his sons what's happening. And I'm sure that these men prepare. No doubt that they groom themselves. They get ready. They maybe take and get a haircut. They may their appearance. They want to be ready and look and be perfect in their presentation when they see Samuel. So they're probably working on their posture. They're doing all of these things to make sure that the outward appearance is perfect. But we remember the verse, that's not what God's looking for. So the first son, Eliab, is presented, and Samuel makes that mistake that we all make. He thinks, wow, this is the eldest. This is, look at his stature, look at his countenance. This must be the one. But we know that God says, no, Samuel, this is not the one. We go on and we have 6 more sons that come down the line, and each one, God says no. God is looking for someone with a heart. And Samuel says to Jesse, are there any more? Do you have any more children? And we know that David is in the field tending to herd. And, what if Samuel would have stopped at the last son? What if Jesse hadn't bade for David to come? Those things we don't know, but we know that God had a plan for that, and that God was going to anoint a king. Looking at that and just kind of focusing on what Samuel's thought was, Samuel wasn't much different from us. We look at people and we determine sometimes their worth or what they can do based upon just what we see on the outside. But God is saying, don't stop there. That's not enough. It's got to be about the heart. It's our heart condition that he looks at. It's okay to look nice. It's okay to be tall. It's okay to be short. It's okay to be any of those things. It's okay to want to look nice. It's okay to want to be well groomed. Those are good things. But God's saying, that's not what I'm looking at. That outward appearance is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking internal. I'm looking at the heart. When I look at people sometimes, I'm guilty, and I'm looking at them solely on what I see. But I want to get to that place to where I see like God sees. I want to see their heart condition. Am I looking at people the way he's looking at people? Or am I making that mistake and saying solely, this is the way they look, this is the way they are, so they can't measure up? So I'm thinking as I'm reading this, and I see this, and it hits me about how God looked at me and he saw my heart, and he didn't just say, you don't have the right look. You're not tall enough. You're not this. You don't measure up to this standard, or you don't measure up to that standard. Sometimes we label and we put things on limits, and we put terms on what God will do just based upon what we see. But God's saying, don't look at all of those things. Don't look at the countenance. Don't look at where they came from. Don't look at the way they look right now. That's not who they are, because their heart may be different. Their heart is something I'm seeking after. We see as we go down into the chapter, when we go to verse 13 in 1 Samuel 16, it says, Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. David was described as a ruddy youth. And I'm so glad that God didn't look and say he couldn't do anything because of his age or because of what his current job was. I want to have the Lord say to me, and arise. I want him to say, anoint her. This is the one. This is the one that's after my heart. And I just challenge us today that when we think about things, or when we look at people, that we don't just look on what's exterior, that we go and we say, God, give me a heart like yours. Give me a heart that sees what you see. Give me a heart, Lord, that just seeks after people and loves people like you love people. I encourage us today to not look on an outward appearance, to not just put people in a box, but let's look at people the way he would. God bless, and we'll see you soon.